The wedding hall was a cathedral of expensive silence. Not the peaceful kind. The kind where 300 wealthy guests held their breath because something was about to shatter. Crystal chandeliers from Murano dripped light onto tables dressed in black orchids and smoked glass. The air smelled of tuberose and expensive fear. Do Yunus stood at the altar, his pale hands trembling inside his dove-gray suit. His bride, Mina Huang, heiress to the Huang pharmaceutical empire, adjusted her sapphire choker and smiled with too many teeth. She had paid for this wedding. She had paid for his loyalty. And she had made sure to invite the one woman Yunus destroyed to get here. Selah Machado. The invitation had arrived in a velvet-lined box. No return address. Just a wax seal with the Huang pharmaceutical crest. Inside, a thick cardstock note handwritten in Mina's looping, passive-aggressive calligraphy. Selah, you always said Yunus would never commit. Watch me make him say, I do. Doors open at 6. Don't wear anything too sad. Mina. That was 3 weeks ago. Now, Selah stood in the back corridor of the Shilla Hotel's grand ballroom, adjusting the sleeve of a man who did not smile. Shin Chai-won. Kai to the few allowed to breathe his air. He was 6 feet of calculated danger wrapped in a midnight blue tuxedo with a shawl lapel that caught the light like oil on water. His cufflinks were black diamonds shaped like serpent fangs. His watch was a Patek Philippe that cost more than the wedding cake. He hadn't asked why she needed him here. He had read the invitation, watched her jaw tighten, and simply said, What time do we ruin them? Selah looked at her reflection in the smoked glass mirror. Her long hair fell in loose, molten waves down her back. No braids, no beads, just California humidity and Trinidadian volume. She wore a crimson liquid satin gown with a single knife-cut slit from hip to ankle and a dramatic cutout that revealed the sharp line of her ribs. Matching heels that could stab a man's eye out. Gold hoops the size of her fist. Her makeup was soft, brown smoked liner, bare lips except for gloss, because she didn't need to try. She was the most beautiful woman in the room before she even walked in. Kai leaned down, his breath warm against her ear. You're shaking. I'm not nervous, she whispered. I'm furious. Good. His hand found the small of her back. His palm was cool, steady. Fury looks better on you than grief. The grand doors opened. The wedding march was playing some slow, saccharine string version of a pop song. Guests turned expecting the mother of the groom or a late arrival of minor importance. Instead, they got Shin Chai-won. He walked in like he owned the air, one hand in his pocket, shoulders loose, eyes scanning the room the way a panther scans a field, not looking for threats, but cataloging which throats to bite first. His jaw was sharp enough to cut glass. His hair was styled back, severe, showing the faint scar that ran from his temple to his ear. A gift from a Busan rival in 2019. The rival drowned in his own hot tub 3 days later. No evidence. Behind him, slightly to his left, because no woman walked behind Kai Chai-won, Selah Machado entered. And the music kept playing, but no one heard it. Because Selah's heel clicked against the marble floor, and the entire ballroom turned to ice. She moved like a panther, slow, deliberate. Her long hair swayed with each step, catching the chandelier light and throwing it back like shattered gold. The crimson gown clung to every curve God gave her, and a few she sculpted herself in the gym. The cutout revealed the shadow of her spine. The slit revealed a thigh that could crush a watermelon. An elderly Chable matriarch dropped her champagne flute. The glass shattered. No one looked at the mess. At the altar, Do Yunus went pale. His lips parted. His eyes widened. His bride, Mina, turned to see what had stolen her fiancé's attention, and her smile collapsed. Selah stopped at the end of the aisle, not walking down it. Never that. She stood at the edge like a judge surveying a crime scene. Kai stepped slightly back, giving her the stage. He knew when to loom and when to let her burn. Yunus, Selah said. Her voice carried, not loud, just resonant. The kind of voice that made people lean in. You look well. I see the upgrade came with a matching tie and a personality transplant. Mina's face flushed scarlet. You weren't supposed to come with him. Kai tilted his head. The gesture was small, almost bird-like. But every security guard in the room felt their spine tighten. 3 of them recognized him from the 2023 Gangnam raid. Two of them had seen his men break a loan shark's fingers in a noribang last month. You invited her, Kai said. His voice was low, textured like velvet over gravel. She accepted. I accompany. Is there a problem? Huang Mina SSI. The way he said her full name, like he was reading a death certificate. Mina's high ponytail quivered. Her mother, seated in the front row, gripped her husband's arm so hard her knuckles went white. The father, Chairman Huang, recognized Kai instantly. He'd had dinner with him 6 months ago, negotiating a private security contract that involved moving untraceable pharmaceuticals through Kai's shipping lanes. Chairman Huang stood up. Chewan SSI. What a unexpected pleasure. Chairman. Kai nodded once. No bow. No respect. Your daughter has excellent taste in stationery. The velvet box was a nice touch. Sayla smiled. It was not a kind smile. I'm not here to ruin your wedding, Mina, Sayla said, finally stepping to the side to take a seat in the second row. She crossed her legs. The slit opened like a wound. I'm here to watch you marry a man who still has my number saved as Selly Gemstone in his phone. Eunice flinched. Kai sat beside her, draping his arm along the back of her chair. His thumb traced idle circles on her bare shoulder. The gesture was possessive, lazy, and broadcasted to every single person in that room. She is not yours. She was never yours. And you are very lucky I am in a good mood. The officiant cleared his throat. Shall we continue? Mina grabbed Eunice's arm. Her manicured nails dug in. Don't you dare look at her again. Eunice looked at Sayla, then at Kai, then at the black diamond serpent fangs on Kai's cuffs. He looked away. The ceremony limped forward. Vows were exchanged. Rings were slid onto trembling fingers. Sayla watched the entire thing with the expression of someone watching a nature documentary about hyenas eating a wounded gazelle. Kai whispered translations of the Korean vows into her ear, but instead of the romantic version, he gave her the real translation, the cold legal promises about joint assets and inherited debt. By the time the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Sayla had stopped paying attention. She was looking at Kai. He felt her gaze, turned his head slightly. His dark eyes met hers. And for a moment the entire wedding disappeared. The guests, the crystal, the two bros, all of it dissolved into white noise. There was only the space between them. The unspoken understanding that this was not a favor. This was not revenge tourism. This was the beginning of something that would either save her or destroy her. Then Mina kissed Eunice. The guests clapped with the enthusiasm of hostages, and the reception began. The most unsettling part? Not the entrance. Not the fear. It was what Kai whispered to Sayla as they walked toward the champagne tower. He still loves you. That's why this hurts him more than losing her money ever could. Now, do you want to leave? Or do you want to dance? Sayla took his hand. Dance. The reception hall had been transformed. White roses replaced the black orchids. The lighting shifted from cold cathedral to warm honey. A 12-piece live band played a jazzy rendition of a 90s R&B classic. Guests loosened their ties and drank champagne like it was water. Sayla nursed a glass of Dom Perignon and watched the show. Mina had changed into a reception dress. A feathered blush pink mini dress with a deep cowl neck and crystal fringe that swayed when she walked. She was trying too hard. The kind of trying that came from knowing your husband had just spent the entire ceremony staring at his ex-girlfriend's collarbone. Eunice, for his part, was making the rounds, shaking hands with investors, laughing too loud at Chairman Huang's jokes. Every few minutes, his eyes would drift across the ballroom to where Sayla sat, strategically positioned at a high-top table near the dance floor, Kai beside her, their thighs touching. Kai had not touched his champagne. He was drinking something dark in a rocks glass, whiskey, neat, no brand visible. His free hand rested on Sela's knee under the table, thumb pressing lazy patterns into the silk of her gown. He's looking again, Kai murmured, not looking up. Let him, Sayla said. That's the point. No, Kai's thumb stopped. His voice dropped. The point was to show you're not broken. He's already seen that. Now he's just torturing himself. That's boring. Sayla turned to look at him. Really look. In the honeyed light, his face was all sharp angles and controlled menace. But his eyes, those dark, unreadable pools, held something softer. something that looked almost like concern. "Why did you really come with me today?" she asked. Kai was quiet for a long moment. A server passed with a tray of oysters. He waved them away. "Because you called me at 2 a.m. 3 weeks ago," he said finally. "You didn't cry. You didn't ask for help. You just read me the invitation out loud. And when you finished, you said, 'I'm going alone.' And I knew that was a lie you were telling yourself so you wouldn't feel weak." Selah's throat tightened. "I'm not weak," she said. "I know." Kai lifted his glass. "That's why I came." Before she could respond, a shadow fell over the table. Yunus. He stood there, champagne flute in hand, his gray tuxedo slightly rumpled at the elbows. His face was a battlefield of emotions: guilt, longing, regret, and a thin layer of drunken courage. He'd obviously been sneaking sips from a flask. Selly, her old nickname, sounded like a bruise on his tongue. "Can we talk? Alone?" Kai didn't move, didn't blink, just sat there, radiating a quiet promise of violence that made the air temperature drop. Selah placed her hand on Kai's chest, right over his heart, which was beating slow and steady, the heart of a man who had never been afraid of anything in his life. "It's fine," she said softly. "Give us 5 minutes." Kai looked at her, then at Yunus, then back at her. 5 minutes, he said. He stood up, buttoned his tuxedo jacket, and walked toward the bar without looking back. But Selah noticed he positioned himself directly in the sightline. If Yunus tried anything, Kai would see it, and Yunus would regret it. Yunus slid into Kai's vacated seat. He smelled like overpriced cologne and bad decisions. "You look," he trailed off, gesturing vaguely at her gown, her hair, her entire existence. "You look like a dream I had after I proposed to her." "That's pathetic," Selah said flatly. "I know." He laughed, but it came out broken. "God, I know. Selly, I made a mistake. I should have never. She's not you. She'll never be you. Mina's cold, and her family controls everything I do. And I wake up every morning next to a woman who asks me how much money we made before she asks how I slept." Selah set down her champagne. "You came to my table, at your wedding reception, 2 hours after marrying another woman, to tell me you're unhappy? I'm telling you the truth." Yunus reached for her hand. She pulled it back. "I still love you." The words hung in the air, ugly and desperate and completely useless. Selah leaned forward. Her long hair slid over her shoulders, framing her face like a dark halo. The cutout of her gown gaped slightly, revealing the shadow between her breasts. Yunus' eyes dropped. She didn't bother to cover up. "You don't love me," she said quietly. "You love the idea of me. You love that I challenged you, that I didn't care about your family's approval, that I taught you how to eat with chopsticks and made you listen to dancehall until you finally got the rhythm. But when it came time to choose me or your career, and your status and your mother's tears, you chose them. You chose this, and now you have to live with it." Yunus' jaw worked. His eyes were wet. "What if I don't want to live with it? What if I left her? Right now? Tonight?" Selah laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "You won't." "I could." "You won't," she repeated. "Because you're the kind of man who needs permission to be happy. And I'm not giving it to you." Yunus grabbed her wrist. Hard. It lasted exactly 1 second. Less. Because Kai materialized behind Yunus like a ghost made of murder, grabbed the back of his collar, and hauled him out of the chair so fast that Yunus' champagne flute flew into the air, spun twice, and shattered on the marble floor. Every conversation stopped. Every head turned. Kai had Yunus by the throat. Not squeezing. Just holding. The way you hold a snake you haven't decided to kill yet. "You touched her," Kai said. His voice was soft. That was the terrifying part. "You put your hand on her without her permission. At your wedding. To another woman." Yunus gurgled. His feet dangled an inch off the ground. Mina came running, her feathered dress bouncing, her face a mask of horror and rage. "Put him down. Security. Someone call security." The security guards who had been stationed at the doors took 2 steps forward. Then they saw Kai's face. Then they looked at each other. Then they took 2 steps back. Chairman Huang stood up from the head table, his face ashen. "Chewan SSI, please. He's an idiot. He's not worth the paperwork." Kai held Eunice for another beat. Then he lowered him, slowly, deliberately, and straightened his own tuxedo jacket. "If you ever speak to her again," Kai said, adjusting his serpent cufflink, "I won't come to your wedding. I'll come to your funeral. And I'll pay for the open bar myself." He turned, offered his hand to Selah, and helped her rise from the table. The entire ballroom watched them leave. No one tried to stop them. As they walked through the grand doors and into the cold soul night, Selah exhaled a breath she hadn't known she was holding. The valet brought Kai's car, a matte black Mercedes Maybach with tinted windows so dark they looked like mirrors. Kai opened the door for her. She slid into the heated leather seat. He walked around and got in behind the wheel. They sat in silence for a long moment. Then Selah turned to him. "You didn't have to do that. I know. He's going to be terrified of you forever. I know. Mina's father is going to call you tomorrow. He already texted." Kai pulled out his phone, showing her a message from Chairman Huang. "I'll handle my son-in-law. No hard feelings." Kai hadn't responded. He wouldn't for at least 72 hours. Make him sweat. Selah laughed. A real laugh this time, the kind that crinkled her nose and showed her teeth. Kai stared at her mouth for 2 seconds too long. "Where are we going?" she asked. Kai started the engine. The Maybach purred like a caged animal. "My place," he said. "I have a rooftop. You can see all of Gangnam from up there. And I have a bottle of 1982 Chateau Margaux that's been waiting for a woman who got revenge in a red dress." Selah buckled her seatbelt. "Drive," she said. And he did. Kai's penthouse was not what Selah expected. She had imagined something dark, industrial, leather and chrome and maybe a few tasteful skulls. The lair of a man who had seen violence and decided to decorate around it. Instead, the elevator opened onto a space that was almost peaceful. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the neon sprawl of Gangnam. The furniture was mid-century modern warm wood, cream upholstery, a low-slung sofa that looked too comfortable to be legal. Bookshelves lined one wall, filled with first-edition Korean poetry, art history texts, and a surprising number of romance novels in French. A grand piano sat in the corner, the keys slightly yellowed with age. On the walls, original Li Yufan paintings and a single Basquiat, the crown, the skull, the chaos contained in glass. "You play piano," Selah said. It wasn't a question. "I used to," Kai said, removing his tuxedo jacket and draping it over a chair. He rolled up his sleeves, black silk, exposing forearms roped with muscle and a single tattoo on his inner wrist. A tiny serpent eating its own tail. "Ouroboros. Before my father died. Before I became this." He said it without self-pity. Just fact. Selah walked to the window, her heels sinking into a thick cream carpet. The city sprawled beneath her, a million lights burning against the dark. Somewhere down there, Eunice was probably crying into his champagne. Mina was screaming at her father. The wedding cake was being sliced by shaking hands. And here she was, in a penthouse, with a mafia boss. Her life had taken a turn she couldn't have scripted. Kai opened the wine with a practiced hand. No special equipment, just a corkscrew and the kind of wrist strength that came from strangling men. He poured 2 glasses and carried them to the window. "The rooftop," he said, tilting his head toward a glass door she hadn't noticed. "After you." The rooftop was a garden. Not a few potted plants on a concrete slab, an actual garden. Cherry trees in massive ceramic pots. A koi pond with a small waterfall. String lights crisscrossed overhead, and a heated stone bench faced a fire pit that flickered with blue flame. The air was cold enough to see breath, but the fire and the wine made it bearable. Selah kicked off her heels. The grass beneath her feet was real, damp with evening dew. She laughed. A surprised, childlike sound. "You have grass on your roof." "I have many things people don't expect," Kai said, handing her a glass. "That's the point." They sat on the stone bench. The fire cast dancing shadows on his face, softening the sharp edges, illuminating the scar near his temple. For the first time, Selah noticed the fine lines at the corners of his eyes. He was 32, but he looked older in the firelight. Wiser, more tired. "Tell me about him," Kai said. "The ex. The whole story. I want to know what I'm cleaning up." Selah took a sip of wine. It was exquisite, dark fruit, leather, a hint of smoke. She let it sit on her tongue before swallowing. We met in Los Angeles, she began. I was managing a gallery in Culver City. Contemporary Caribbean artists, mostly. He came in on a rainy Tuesday. He was there for a business conference. Korean tech expansion. He said my smile reminded him of his mother's cooking. Which was weird, but also kind of sweet. Kai's expression didn't change, but his jaw tightened. We dated for 2 years, Sayla continued. Long distance at first. He flew to LA every other weekend. Then I moved to Seoul. Gave up my gallery. Gave up my apartment. Gave up my proximity to my family. For him. And Kai's voice was quiet. And his mother hated me. Sayla swirled her wine. She never said it outright. Just little things. Don't you think that dress is a bit much? Your accent is so interesting. In Korea, we eat this dish differently. She wanted a nice Korean girl from a good family. Instead, she got a black woman from California with a Trini passport and opinions about everything. Kai snorted. The horror, right? Sayla smiled, but it faded quickly. Eunice never defended me. Not once. He'd sit there while his mother made her little comments, and then he'd apologize to me in private. She's old, Selly. She doesn't understand. Just give her time. I gave her 2 years. She never changed. And neither did he. When did you leave? I didn't. Sayla set down her wine. He left me 3 months before the wedding invitations went out. He came home one night. We were living together in Hanamdong, and he said, I can't do this anymore. My family needs me to make the right choice. I asked him what the right choice was. He said, someone who fits. The fire crackled. Kai was very still. So I packed my bags, Sayla said. Moved back to California. Rebuilt my life. Started a new gallery in Oakland. Didn't date for a year. And then 3 weeks ago I got that invitation. And I realized I wasn't angry about losing him. I was angry about losing myself. I let him make me small. I won't ever do that again. Kai turned to face her fully. The firelight caught the angles of his face, the hard line of his mouth, the intensity in his dark eyes. You were never small, he said. You just trusted someone who didn't deserve to hold you. Sela's chest ached. Not from pain, from recognition. The feeling of being truly seen. Why do you care? She whispered. You're a mafia boss. You have actual enemies to crush. Why spend your evening holding my hand at a wedding and listening to my breakup story? Kai was quiet for a long time. The koi pond gurgled. A plane passed overhead, its lights blinking against the stars. Because 3 years ago, he said finally, I was in a boardroom in Busan. A rival cartel had taken one of my men. They sent us a video of him begging. My lieutenants wanted revenge, blood, fire, the whole thing. And I was about to give the order when my phone rang. Sayla waited. It was a wrong number, Kai said. A woman in California. She was trying to reach a flower shop, but she misdialed. And instead of hanging up, she apologized. Profusely, beautifully. She said, I'm so sorry to bother you, sir. I hope you have a wonderful evening. And she hung up. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. Flipped through it. Handed it to Sayla. On the screen, a call log from 3 years ago. An incoming call from a California number. Duration, 14 seconds. That was you, Kai said. That was your number. You called me by accident. And you were so kind to a stranger that I didn't give the order. I told my men to wait. We found another way. No one died that night. Sela's mouth fell open. That's impossible. I traced the number. Found your name. Found your gallery. Found your Instagram. Kai took the phone back. I've been watching you for 3 years, Sayla Machado. Not in a creepy way. In a I need to know that kindness still exists in the world way. I saw you move back to California. I saw you rebuild. I saw you post a photo of yourself in a red bikini in Malibu with the caption, starting over looks good on me. And I thought, that woman deserves someone who would never make her feel small. The fire popped. Sela's heart was beating so hard she could feel it in her throat. You invited me to the wedding, she said slowly. Not because I asked. Because you wanted me to see that you're not him. No, Kai shook his head. I came because you asked. Everything else, the car, the wine, the rooftop, that's just me hoping you'll stay. Sayla set down her wine glass. She stood up. The grass was cold under her bare feet. Her crimson gown billowed slightly in the night breeze. She walked toward the edge of the rooftop, toward the railing that overlooked the city. Kai followed. He didn't touch her, just stood close enough that she could feel the heat of his body through the silk of her dress. I don't know how to do this, she admitted. Trust again. Want again. You're not a safe choice, Kai. You're a mafia boss. You have enemies. You have blood on your hands. And I'm just a girl who runs an art gallery. Kai turned her to face him. His hands were gentle on her shoulders. You're not just anything, he said. You're the woman who made a wrong number sound like a prayer. You're the woman who walked into her ex's wedding like a queen entering a war zone. You're the woman who made me believe that something in this world isn't ugly. He leaned down. His forehead touched hers. I'm not asking you to trust me, he whispered. I'm asking you to stay tonight. And tomorrow, if you want to leave, I'll drive you to the airport myself. No guilt. No games. Just let me have this one night. Sayla closed her eyes. His breath was warm on her lips. The city hummed below them. The koi pond gurgled. The fire crackled. She opened her eyes. One night, she said. Kai kissed her. It was not gentle. It was not soft. It was the kind of kiss that tasted like red wine and hohui, regret, and the beginning of something that would either save them both or burn everything down. Sayla wrapped her arms around his neck. Her fingers tangled in his hair. He lifted her, effortlessly like she weighed nothing, and she wrapped her legs around his waist. The crimson gown rode up. The cold air hit her thighs. He carried her inside, through the glass door, past the basquiat, past the piano, toward a bedroom she hadn't seen yet. And somewhere in Gangnam, Do Eunice was cutting his wedding cake with shaking hands, wondering why his chest hurt like someone had reached inside and ripped out the only good thing he'd ever had. Sayla woke to sunlight and the smell of coffee. Not instant coffee. Real coffee, freshly ground, dark roast, the kind that cost more than most people's rent. It drifted through the penthouse like a promise. She was alone in the bed. The sheets were rumpled, cream-colored linen that felt like clouds. Her hair was a wild mess across the pillows. Her body ached in places that hadn't ached in years. A good ache, the kind that reminded her she was alive. A note rested on the pillow beside her, handwritten on thick cardstock. Kai's handwriting was sharp, precise, almost architectural. Rooftop. Sunrise is almost over. Don't make me watch it alone. Sayla smiled. She found a silk robe draped over the foot of the bed, deep plum, with embroidery along the lapels. She slipped it on, tied the belt, and padded barefoot through the penthouse. The glass door to the rooftop was open. The morning air was crisp, cold enough to make her shiver. The fire pit had burned down to embers. The koi pond sparkled with reflected light. And Kai Chai-won sat on the stone bench, 2 mugs of coffee in his hands, watching the last colors of sunrise bleed across the Seoul skyline. He had changed into a black cashmere sweater and charcoal trousers. His hair was unstyled, falling across his forehead. He looked younger like this, less like a mafia boss, more like a man. You're still here, he said, handing her a mug. You asked me to stay. Sayla sat beside him, tucking her legs under her. The robe gaped at her chest. She didn't close it. And I wanted to see the sunrise. They sat in silence. Not awkward silence, the comfortable kind. The kind that came after intimacy, after secrets shared, after bodies tangled in expensive sheets. The city woke up below them. Delivery trucks rumbled. Office workers hurried to subway stations. Somewhere, a street vendor was setting up a cart. Normal life, indifferent to the 2 people on a rooftop who had just changed everything. I have to tell you something, Kai said finally. He didn't look at her. His profile was sharp against the brightening sky. About what happens now. Sela's stomach tightened. Okay. My life is not safe. He set down his coffee. I told you that. But I don't think you understand what it means. There are people who want me dead. Rival cartels. Corrupt politicians. Former allies who think they can take my territory. If you're with me, you're a target. They will use you to hurt me. I know. Do you? Kai turned to face her. His eyes were dark, intense, searching. They won't just threaten you. They'll try to break you. They'll dig up your past. They'll find your family in California and your cousins in Trinidad. They will make your life a nightmare, Selah. And I can't promise I can protect you from all of it. Selah set down her coffee. She reached out and took his face in her hands. Her palms were warm against his jaw. His stubble scratched her skin. Listen to me, Shin Chai One, she said. Her voice was steady. I grew up in a house where my grandmother chased away a colonial ghost with a frying pan. I moved to Korea for a man who didn't deserve me, and when he threw me away, I walked into his wedding 3 years later with a mafia boss on my arm and a red dress that cost more than his car. I am not afraid of your enemies. I am not afraid of your world. I am afraid of waking up one day and realizing I played it safe and lost the only man who ever looked at me like I was the answer to a question he'd been asking his whole life. Kai's breath hitched. Selah leaned in and kissed him, soft, slow, deliberate. When she pulled back, his eyes were wet. You're really not leaving, he said. It wasn't a question. No, she said. But you need to do something for me. Anything. Stop calling yourself a monster. She traced the scar near his temple. You've done terrible things. I know that. But you also have a rooftop garden and a piano and a Basquiat on your wall. You saved a man's life because a stranger was kind to you on the phone. You're not a monster. You're a man who chose violence because the world gave him no other choice. And now I'm here. So choose something else. Kai stared at her for a long moment. Then he laughed. A real laugh, surprised and bright and nothing like the cold chuckle he used in boardrooms. You're going to get us both killed, he said. Probably, Selah agreed. But we'll look amazing doing it. The gallery opening was Selah's. Her new gallery, actually, a renovated warehouse in Hanamdong, just blocks from the apartment she used to share with Eunice. She had bought it with a loan from a private investor, Kai, but she made him sign a contract with interest rates and everything. The walls were white. The floors were polished concrete. The art was explosive, contemporary Korean artists mixed with Caribbean diaspora voices, creating a collision of cultures that made Seoul critics lose their minds. Tonight was the opening. The space was packed. Art collectors in avant-garde deconstructed blazers and asymmetrical jersey dresses sipped soju cocktails and murmured about the ambitious black woman who slept with the serpent to fund her little project. Let them talk. Selah had stopped caring what people whispered. She wore a chrome-silver micro-mini dress by Mugler, a liquid metal second skin that caught every light in the room and threw it back like a weapon. Her long hair was loose, wild, falling in waves past her waist. Her heels were clear lucite stilettos that made her legs look infinite. Gold cuffs circled both wrists. Her lips were stained the color of black cherries. She was magnificent, and she was scanning the crowd for Kai. He had promised to come, but he was late, unusual for him. Her phone buzzed. Kai, look up. Selah looked up. The gallery had a second-floor balcony, originally intended for VIP seating. Kai stood at the railing, looking down at her like she was the only person in the room. He was wearing a charcoal double-breasted suit with a black silk turtleneck underneath. No tie, no cufflinks, just clean lines and quiet power. His hair was styled back, severe. The scar near his temple caught the gallery lights. He descended the spiral staircase slowly. The crowd parted for him, not because they recognized him, but because something in his posture made people instinctively step aside. He reached the bottom, walked straight to Selah, took her hand. You're late, she said. I was arranging a gift. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Not a ring box, bigger, square. He opened it. Inside, an antique jade bracelet set in rose gold. The jade so deep green it was almost black. Trinidadian jade, if such a thing existed. A stone that connected her to her grandmother's island, her mother's courage, her own unbreakable spine. It belonged to my mother, Kai said quietly. She died when I was 17. She always said to give it to the woman who made me want to be better. I thought I'd never meet her. And then you called the wrong number. Selah's vision blurred. She blinked back tears. Put it on me, she whispered. Kai fastened the bracelet around her wrist. His fingers were steady. Her heart was not. The crowd watched. Phones recorded. By morning, the video would be on every gossip site in Seoul. Mafia boss gifts heirloom to black art dealer at gallery opening. Is this love or a power move? Let them speculate. Sayla reached up, pulled Kai down by his turtleneck, and kissed him in front of everyone. The gallery erupted in applause. Even the critics clapped. 6 months later, they were not married. Sayla had refused the first 3 proposals. I'll say yes when you've gone 1 full year without ordering anyone's death, she had said, only half joking. Kai had laughed. Then he had quietly restructured his entire organization. Less violence. More legitimate investments. A foundation that funded art programs for at-risk youth in Itaewon. His lieutenants grumbled. He didn't care. Tonight they were at the opera. The Seoul Arts Center. A production of La Traviata Sela's Choice. She loved the tragedy, the sacrifice, the doomed romance. Kai hated opera. He went anyway. During intermission, they stood on the terrace overlooking the city. Sayla wore a matte amethyst velvet catsuit with a deep plunge neckline and wide-leg pants that flowed like water when she walked. Her hair was swept to one side, exposing the jade bracelet on her wrist. Kai wore a midnight blue tuxedo, no tie, the top 2 buttons of his shirt undone. I have something to tell you, Sayla said, not looking at him. Kai tensed. Good or bad? I don't know yet. She turned to face him. Her eyes were bright, nervous, happy. I'm pregnant. The world stopped. Kai stared at her. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. He couldn't finish the sentence. Pregnant, Sayla repeated. We're having a baby. A little chaos agent with your eyes and my stubbornness. I found out yesterday. I wanted to tell you somewhere beautiful. Kai looked around at the opera house, the chandeliers, the velvet curtains, the crowd in their finery. Then he looked back at Sayla. He fell to his knees, on the terrace, in full view of everyone. Marry me, he said, not a question. A demand wrapped in a prayer. Marry me tomorrow, or tonight, or right now. I don't care about the year without violence. I'll go 2 years, 10 years. I'll burn down every enemy I have and build a school on the ashes. Just say yes. Please, please. Sayla laughed. A wet, joyful, incredulous laugh. You're proposing at the opera? In front of all these people? I'm proposing because I love you, Kai said. Because you walked into your ex's wedding and chose me. Because you stayed when I told you to run. Because you're carrying our child and you still look like a goddess in purple velvet. Sayla Machado. Make me the luckiest criminal in Seoul. She pulled him to his feet. The crowd was staring. Phones were out. None of it mattered. Yes, she said. Yes, you ridiculous man. I'll marry you. Kai kissed her. The opera crowd cheered. Someone started playing violin music from a phone speaker. It was chaotic and imperfect and absolutely nothing like the beach weddings or rain-soaked confessions in every other K-drama. It was theirs. A dimly lit boardroom. 12 men in suits. Kai at the head of the table. A photo of Sayla, pregnant and laughing, tucked into his jacket pocket. One of his lieutenants clears his throat. Boss, the Busan situation. They're demanding a meeting. How do you want to handle it? Kai stands up. He walks to the window. His reflection stares back. Scar, sharp jaw, dark eyes that have seen too much. Tell them, he says slowly, that I'm retired. Shock around the table. Retired? Another lieutenant sputters. To do what? Kai turns. Smiles, a real smile, the first most of these men have ever seen. I'm going to be a father, he says. And I promised my wife I'd learn to paint. He leaves the boardroom. His footsteps echo.
Hi loves, the moral lesson for this story is that sometimes the greatest revenge is not hurting the people who broke you. It's healing, thriving, and choosing the love you truly deserve. Thank you so much for watching. Kindly like and subscribe.